Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Caress Gillespie. I serve as the Chair Select for the Placement Exchange. We are so glad that you're joining us this afternoon for the session, Recharging Your Search. Just for your all awareness, we are recording the session today, just so those that are not here can watch it later. And then the transcripts are live for those who have the closed captioning enabled. I'm so excited to share this session with you all. And I'm so excited that I have some of my co-committee members here with you to share their knowledge and wisdom. We in the Placement Exchange, as you may have saw in our newsletter earlier, are excited to share knowledge and career development with you this year. We've changed up things with our committee and structure, so candidate development looks a little different. So candidate development, we're really trying to focus on various aspects and different types of candidate development at various levels that you might be looking to transition within your career. And so I will have each of the candidate development folks in the committee share with you who they are and then what kind of population of candidate development they're going to be working with. So I will pass it over to you, Courtney, first to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Courtney Roof. I work at Florida A&M University professionally, but for the committee, I serve as the incoming professionals, which is those professionals who are coming from graduate school, looking for that next step. And I am joined by my partner Jeremiah, who couldn't be with us today due to a family reason, but I know sends his regards and would love to assist anybody who is looking for some support and is in the incoming professionals category.
I'll pick up from there. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Ray Gordon, and I am currently the Executive Director of Housing and Residence Life at the University of Texas at El Paso. And I am working with the seasoned candidate group. So those that have been working in the field and or have been through TPE of some kind and maybe looking to revamp their search and get back into it to look for their next professional endeavor. I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Isi Uleb. I work with residential life at the University of San Diego, and I'm currently working with our undergraduate candidates for the placement exchange. So anybody who caught the student affairs bug early, I'm here to support you in whatever the next step is for your journey.
Great. Thank you all for sharing who you are. And so again, this session is really focused on recharging your search. So today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of some foundational things, general to everyone. I know we had some questions for you all to see where you all are and kind of what you're hoping to get out of this session. And then we're going to do some breakouts kind of based on kind of maybe some of the themes and interests that you all have and where you are in your search. And so really we're hoping today that you leave the time with us kind of getting either some new wisdom or getting some new ideas of where you can kind of take off and where you're at in your development. So I'll hand this back over to the committee. And as you have questions, feel free to have them in the chat, and there will be plenty of time in our breakout sessions for you all to ask questions and such, but we will be monitoring the chat as we go through the session. So look forward to learning with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Caress. So briefly, I just wanted to touch base on some of the goals and vision of TPE for the next year or a couple of years as it stands. Some of our focus is on career readiness in the 21st century, really looking at how can we prepare candidates to be ready to take that next step, whatever that may be, whether it be in student affairs or higher education broadly. We also want to make our services as accessible as possible, whether that's from a universal design standpoint, in terms of like accessibility for those with disabilities, but also financially making sure that those who need access to our services are able to access them. And lastly, one of our last goals is to be the premier career services provider for the field of student affairs and higher education. And then just some things to look forward to in November. We have the TPE Academy on November 9th and 10th, and I'll flash it back to Caress if she is equipped to chat about that, because that's kind of her her endeavor, and I'd love for her to chat more about it, if she's willing and able.
Oh, yes, I would love to share about the TPE Academy. So, those of you who may have been with TPE before may have heard about the TPE Academy. It was a long-standing kind of program with us where we would pair candidates with a mentor for a few months before our event. And so, kind of thinking about how our kind of search processes and people look for jobs and employers even kind of recruit. And nowadays, we know the things have changed. And so we've revamped our TPE Academy and have made it a 2-day intensive kind of institute-like process. So we have this process not only for candidates, for employers to participate in, focusing on like personal values, career development skills, and networking and one-on-one coaching opportunities. A newsletter went out today kind of sharing some of those details in our registration form, but you can also find the registration links to get involved either as a candidate, employer, or if you're interested in being a coach on our Instagram page at the Placement Exchange, and kind of find out more information about some of the kind of sessions and content that we'll be covering. But again, really trying to provide some other specific areas that you might be interested in learning to help you as you're preparing or continuing in your job search or transition, not only from an employer perspective, also from a candidate perspective. So again, a 2-day kind of intensive institute really focusing on skills and development for that search. So really excited if you are choosing to join us for that opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Caress. And then we will also have a November candidate development event. We have a tentative date and time, and we'll chat for it later. We'll be seeking some of your feedback in order to see what if the date and time we selected works with your general schedules, or if there's another date or time that is better suited for your needs and your schedules. So with that being said, I will pass it along to IC.
Awesome. So this is the portion of the program where we will get to know a little bit more about you and what you are currently looking for in your own job search. So if you all can just put in the chat box what your candidate level is, either undergraduate, graduate / incoming, or current / seasons, put in the chat box so that Courtney, Ray, and I know who's in the room with us right now. Awesome. All right. So we have current and graduate level candidates. Awesome. All right. I will share my screen just to show the responses that you all shared in the registration link. So we have a bunch of different things. We have understanding current market trends, first round virtual interview tips, a lot of job search tips and insights, how to move through the job search process, how to leverage my current and pre-existing experiences into my job search, figuring out which conferences you want to be involved with during your job search. That's a big one. Overcoming obstacles such as age, race, location, overcoming burnout from applying to jobs for 2 years, learning more about careers in higher ed, and then engaging and networking and navigating how to be a new professional, or how to navigate as a graduate student as well. So there's a bunch of different things that you all are bringing to the table today. And we really hope that as we get into our breakout rooms and discussion spaces that you bring those forward so that we can support you with whatever questions you might have for us. I'll share the link in the chat box now, but what I'd like everybody to do is to further share out a little bit more about your own job search, discussing with us what are you looking forward to in your job search, as well as what challenges in your job search are you anticipating? And you can find those on slide 3 and 4 of the Jamboard. So I just put the link in the chat box for you all, and then feel free to add Post-it notes. If you've never used Jamboard before, all you have to do is go over to the left-hand side over here. There's a little icon, and then if you hover over it, it says sticky note. You just click on the sticky note and you can type whatever you want. And then when you hit save, it'll pop up right there for you. So let me go ahead and delete that. But yep, that's how you use the sticky note function. And then I'll give everybody about 5 or so minutes to provide 1 or more responses on either page. Oh, I apologize. Is it view only right now? Sorry about that. Okay, there you go, Sarah. Let me know if it works now. Hi, Jacqueline. Yeah, you might need to refresh the page like Desiree said, and then let me know if it updates your access as well. Perfect. I just had a clarifying question in the direct messages. We're just doing slides 3 and 4 for now. When we go into our breakout rooms, that's when we'll get to slides 5 through 7. Perfect. So if you're still putting responses, please feel free to. That'll only help our conversation as we move to breakout rooms. But just wanted to highlight what's been shared with us so far. So what are folks looking for in their job search? Opportunity to learn new skills, ability to expand skills, figure out how to fit qualifications in as new professionals, better understanding where the market needs are, and then seeing how different institutions work. A lot of us work at our undergrads or grad schools, and so learning how different institutions operate, whether by institutional type or even just size, is really important as well. And then I know we have a lot of responses on anticipated challenges. So I think the elephant in the room for a lot of folks for the longest time is salary not being part of the job description. Got 2 exclamation points there. Being a little rusty in the interview process, if you've been out of practice for a while. Negotiation, transparency and salary, got that twice. Jobs that actually reflect the cost of living. I can totally understand that. I'm in San Diego and the rent here is not forgiving. Neither is our gas prices. Finding new ways to answer DEI questions when I've already addressed D&I in my other answers. Feel like I'm repeating myself. That's a big one. Fear of burning bridges. Ability to learn about culture of a department through the virtual process. So what are those really intentional and foundational questions that you could be asking? Inability to compete for entry-level positions with only my undergraduate degree. Finding union jobs in higher ed. Work-life boundaries. Do we all do that? That is a big question to be asking in your job search process. Yes, this is a very common line in job postings. Commensurate with skill means other than I feel like the institution is trying to get me to lowball myself. Yep. So being able to read into a job description and how do you bring that job description, what they've shared with you, into your interview process so that you can ask clarifying questions. These are a lot of big ones. And I think what I'm just seeing visually right now is that, you know, we're looking forward to some things in our job searches right now, but there's a lot that folks are holding. There's a lot that maybe folks are thinking about based off of, you know, either short or what we might feel like are incomplete job postings. And so as you kind of reflect on these responses, please bring these into your breakout rooms so that your respective hosts can support you through those reflections, because we'll definitely be wanting to talk to you all more about these. So like I said, if you're still writing in responses, please feel free to do so. Like, it'll only help your breakout room conversations more. And then I will open up breakout rooms now. Heidi, give me one moment. So I have 3 breakout rooms for everybody. I have undergraduate, which is with me. I have incoming graduate, which will be with Courtney, and current and seasoned, who will be with Raymond. And so I'll wait for everybody to sort. And then Heidi, you're an employer representative, so you might be able to stay in this main room with Caress and Danaja if you have questions that you would like to ask. right. I'll see you all in a few minutes. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Let me turn on my camera. Hold on.
Sure thing.
Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, of course. Awesome.
Great.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you in your career journey? And where are you at currently?
So I did a lot of like res life and orientation in my undergrad, and I just recently graduated in May. And I really thought that student affairs is what I wanted to do. And so after I graduated in May, because I was really focused on finishing my degree, I didn't start applying for jobs until like maybe kind of June, which is like kind of at the late end. And so I went through a few like first round interviews. I get invited to one on campus interview, which was my first one. That was really exciting and I really liked it, but I didn't get the position. And now I'm kind of like, do I really even want to do student affairs? Because the work-life balance boundaries and like salary is so low. So I'm like, I love it, but also at the same time, like, is it worth it? Like, so I'm still like, I have a whole bunch of options, but I don't really know where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that I support whatever you're really sitting with and want help in. You shared a lot that I could just kind of run with, but I'm curious, like what would you like me to speak to from all of that?
I'm not really sure, actually. I don't really know. There was a lot of stuff that like other people said that I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's important.
Well, then let's definitely start there.
Let's see. Well, first, like, I don't know if, well, like, because a lot of the job postings were like, we would like your master's degree, but if you have your undergrad degree, like, that's okay. So I don't know if I didn't get the position because I didn't have my master's degree.
Mhm.
But have you found that that is like possible for people with just their undergrad degree to get? Oh, I was trying to go into residence life, so I really enjoy residence life.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
so I've been on the candidate side as well as the employer side, both with TPE and then like independently as an institution. And it's definitely possible to get those entry level coordinator or hall director positions with a bachelor's. Usually what we look for is how do you speak to your experiences, right? Because we could absolutely I've had plenty of candidates who've come to me with a master's degree and they talk about like, oh yeah, I've experienced things for the past 2 years, right? And when I look at their resume, you know, what it is a semester internship with Res Life, and then maybe they were a desk worker in undergrad, right? And for me, like as a hall director, like I'm like, maybe a little more experience could help you, right? Versus we could have a bachelor's candidate who was an RA for 3 years, did 1 or 2 summer internships with Res Life and was a assignments coordinator for a year, right? So because typically assignment coordinator positions don't need a master's, right? But those folks, as long as they're able to speak to their experiences, right? So if I ask about duty, talk to me about your student support philosophy, talk to me about a really integral experience that you had, right? That builds the confidence for me that you know what it's like to be on the front line like that, right? Or if I ask you, what's your experience supervising? Even if you haven't supervised anybody yet, have you ever advised anybody or have you ever given advice to somebody in a formal capacity, right? And I think those are still ways that you can use the RA experience or any other undergraduate experience on how you supported somebody else. I will say, you know, some employers will screen if you have the master's. We're gonna go with the master's folks, right? But then there's, like I said, there's still a lot of positions that hold true to we just need you to have a bachelor's and a good amount of experience. And I think what might help you discern that on the early side is trying to find a connection with somebody, or like, you know, if you get that first round interview offer, whoever sent you that interview offer, email them and say, hey, like, I'm very excited for my interview. I would love to accept it. Do you have time to chat before the interview? Or like, I would just like to ask a couple of questions just to clarify, is this a good fit for me, right? And I think, and that's a pretty honest question to ask. And I think as a previous employer, what that tells me about a candidate is that you value your time, you also value my time, right? And you're trying to discern if you want me to be sending you invites for all these interviews versus like, is this the right match for me if we are leaning towards the master's folks, right? Or if we are leaning towards this or that. And so I think as a bachelor's candidate, that's probably where you have the most ability to control your job search, is asking questions at every avenue you have.
That makes sense. Because I felt like I was so late in the game, any place that like would have offered me the job, I would have taken it without even like taking a second look, which is not something like, I mean, yeah, a job is good, but it's not like you want to be able to have options. Yeah. And then one thing that just like struck me, but when I went to my on-campus interview, the institution never throughout the entire day talked about diversity and inclusion. And like, I didn't realize that until after. And I was like, whoa, like, and then I was like, I don't know if this is a place that I would want to be at though.
Yeah.
So it was very striking. I just had to bring that up because I haven't had the opportunity to really like talk about that. I don't necessarily need to talk about it, but like talk about it with like another like student affairs professional. But it was just kind of like a red flag.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then if I'm hearing you correctly, that was your first on campus?
First and only, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I think what a lot of candidates kind of forget is that if somebody is continuously offering you interviews, right, then you have the power to be interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you, right? And so that's part of your interview with them, is noticing that, right? And you have full range to ask them that, like, hey, nobody ever brought this up. I'm curious, like, how does this fit into your values? Right? And if they give some weak sauce answer, then that's does that pass your interview, right?
Exactly.
And I do want to kind of just bring up, like, it sounded like you were a little discouraged of your summer application process. I want to reaffirm for you that universities hire year round. Sure, there's the TPE, like I am a representative of TPE. Our cycle generally puts folks in March and April, right?
Yeah.
So people get this feeling that that's the job search period. And yeah, there's a lot of jobs open there, but the reality is jobs are open 12 months out of the year. And if anything, if you're feeling like, oh, like there's a lot of competition, generally the summer and the fall are when you have like the most ability to like really get out there, right? Because March and April also probably is the most competitive season for entry-level positions. But the fall position, people either just started their jobs or they're trying to reacquaint themselves with their jobs. And yet there's still institutions out there who maybe half of their entry-level staff have been promoted or moved somewhere else, right? And then there's vacuums to fill. And so I just want to reaffirm for you that there's no such thing as like you applied late, right? You only applied late if you missed the deadline. Other than that, right? Other than that, you're always on time with an application process. And not every school is going to be for you. And being transparent, right? Like I've been in several job search application processes, and I would say right now, it's very interesting to be a candidate because a lot of institutions are trying to be financially responsible. And part of what that means is they retain folks who are already in the system or who are already in the institution, right? So a lot of internal hires, because what does that mean? That means you don't have to pay for transition fees, or transition costs. You don't have to pay, to add somebody onto payroll, right? And so for a lot of institutions, that might be their reality as well. And so reaffirm for yourself that it's not always going to be you. Honestly, never tell yourself that it's because you're not enough, right? You're always enough. Sometimes there's an institutional environment that moves them to hire somebody else for a specific reason that has nothing to do with you being underqualified in any way.
Thank you.
And I've totally been there. I know it can be very discouraging at points, but just know that if you made it to the interview, that means you are qualified.
Just taking notes. I had something else that I wanted to say, but I forgot. Oh, thank you also for saying that, like, you like from like reframing that March and April is like, yeah, like that's the time, but it's not the only time, because it makes sense. Like you can still apply, like if they still have job openings. And like, I guess I was just looking at it in the wrong way and I needed it reframed. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like, I don't know if I should be promoting another website, but do you have a higher ed jobs account?
mm-hmm.
And do you have the email notification set up?
Yeah, I think like because I really wanted this one institution, like regardless of the like, because I really wanted it because it would have been a job. But after I didn't get the position, I got discouraged and I stopped looking.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, like, do you your email notifications, are they geared towards specific positions? I know you talked about Res Life. Are they geared towards specific regions, specific types of institutions?
So it was residence life mainly because that's where a lot of my experience is. I haven't really like, and plus also it would provide a place to live.
Agreed.
And it's region based. So
Okay.
it's like residence life and region based.
Yeah. What region are you?
So I was originally looking for jobs in like the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. But now I just moved to Florida. So like I was gonna go back. I'm kind of at this point, I think I could go anywhere.
Gotcha.
But,
Are you from the tri-state?
I'm from New York.
Okay, I'm a Rutgers alum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a nice thing about Florida, since you've entered the system, are you currently working right now?
I'm working like part-time as a server, so.
Okay, gotcha. I think the nice thing about Florida, and then also engaging Florida with TPE, is that they have this kind of like state university agreement. So I encourage you, like, since you're in Florida, apply for all the state schools in Florida, because they do partner pretty well of like, they don't mind, you know, sharing candidates through the interview process, right? They actually encourage it because what they want to do is build a healthy network of professionals in Florida. And so what I mean by that is, like, when I was part of the last like traditional in-person TPE experience, and like one of their like socials or gatherings, every single state school all set up a booth in a bowling alley, right? And they're like, get to meet all of us. We want you to come to Florida. And so I think that might be a big asset for you since you're there right now. And like kind of gives you options, right? And I think you can also be open of like, oh yeah, like, you know, if you apply for Florida State and you're in their process, like I also applied for Florida Gulf Coast, or I also applied for oh my gosh, I'm like blanking on the other state school names, but right. But I think that might help your job search, and as far as like centering on a network of schools, right? Because if they've built collegiality with one another, if you get into one of the schools, you're gonna have connections to every single other one as you want to progress in your career.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going for Res Life. So what are your needs with the Res Life position? Obviously, a free rent living option is always great, but what else are we looking for?
I think that's part of the problem too, is because I didn't really have any expectations. Just because I was like, I really want to move out of my house. So it was like anywhere that would hire me, I was like, I'll take it. Oh, 2 minutes. So I didn't really know what else to look for or how else to filter.
Yeah. Do you have pets, partner, or family that you live with?
So yeah, I guess like if I could take my cat with me, that'd be great.
Yeah. So pet policies are always something to ask
Mhm.
a question about.
Yeah.
For instance, I have a dog, but the
Mhm.
only way I'm going to live with this dog in my current institution is if he's registered as an ESA. If he's not
Yeah.
registered as an ESA, I don't have him. So that's important on like what measures do they
Right.
allow an animal? And also do they charge some type of fee for that animal?
Mhm.
Because that's an important one. Another common one, which it's not the biggest thing for some folks, but in-unit laundry and dryer or
Mhm.
washer dryer. How many bedrooms?
Yeah.
And then, if you have a pet, like, are you okay with carpet? Do you have any allergies? I think those are all things to inquire about before you settle into a new space as well. Oh, do they offer a meal plan? That's a big one of some schools offer full meal plan, some schools offer a partial meal plan, and then some schools don't give you any food. Um, have you thought about professional development funds?
No.
Yep. So do they offer you money to go to conferences? If you were to go to TPE again, right, would they pay for part of your experience? How do they offer funds? Also, do they offer relocation costs? So, if you move to a school, right, some
Mhm.
schools might say, we will reimburse you up to $1,500 of your moving fees, or we might reimburse you $200 of your moving fees, as you think about your finances. How often are you on duty, and to what degree are you on duty as well?
Yeah, the one school they said like you're on duty starting at midnight, and then like they don't call the RA, they call the police. And I was like, if I was a student, I would call the police. If I'm having an anxiety attack, I'm not gonna call the police. Like that's not.
Yeah.
Also, yeah. I guess also like getting used to what I'm used to. Getting used to something new as
Mhm.
opposed to what I'm used to.
Yeah. Yep, that is a big one for younger professionals, is kind of challenge what I was telling one of my supervisees last night, challenge yourself to learn who you are, right? It's easy to say like, this is who I am, these are the values I have. Challenge yourself one day, just say maybe that's not who I am, and then explore what that means for you. I do have to close the breakout rooms, but
Mhm.
do you have access to each of our emails?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll make that a note for the host to put it in the chat box later. So
Okay.
please feel free to just email me if you want to set up other Zoom calls, or if you just want to show up to the November event. That's what we are here for, is to make sure that you all get whatever questions you need answered.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, I'll see you on the other side.
Okay, bye.
All right, I just closed the breakout room, so folks should be coming in now.
You are running great on time, I see. I was like looking at the schedule. You are doing it.
I try. We gotta finish by an hour. We're gonna be done at the hour.
Are we all back?
Yeah,
all right.
It looks about the same size group. So Raymond, take it away.
All right, welcome back. I hope that you all had some helpful conversations. I know the group that I was with, we were the seasoned professionals. We just kind of talked about everything and touched base and saw where everybody was in regards to their search process and what some of the challenges were. And we discussed the fact that it's really difficult moving from like an on-campus housing and residence life position to your first off-campus position and navigating the cost of living and everything. And just now with the economy all over the place and being haywire, it's a difficult step to take. But I do want to open it up for everybody that was here. What were some of the things that you got out of this experience of breaking up into smaller groups? What are some takeaways that you may have received today? I know some of the conversations that we had were whether folks were to move on to a next position because they had started a degree. And the conversation was, some of the benefits of the position were that they received tuition remission and they were in a pretty significant amount of time into their degree. It was challenging if they wanted to move on professionally or finish their degree. They do want to finish their degree, so that's good to hear. And then Courtney added, Dominic and I had a great conversation about the challenges of moving out of state for a new position or experience. Relocation is really, really exciting, but it's really challenging as well. I don't know if I've never lived in the same state more than once. And so every time I've gotten a new job, I've moved to a different state. So if anybody has any questions about relocating and what that experience is like, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have that conversation with folks because it's really exciting. I love an adventure, but it's quite overwhelming having to navigate that. But yeah, that's definitely something that's interesting. Also, another conversation that we've had too in our group was some folks being tied geographically to the location that they are right now. So they're at one institution and they are looking at either that institution or other institutions in that area, so that they can stay geographically either to support partners that are there or work around whatever other ties they have to that central location. So not everybody is looking for a national or an international job search when they're looking through this process. They're definitely looking at something that could be not as extensive. Sarah just brought up the salary not being listed is standard, but in theory, you'll get more information before the final round, so it shouldn't waste too much of your time. That was a statement that I brought up before. Not all employers are either able or forthcoming with salary, and that's definitely a challenge, and that's a hindrance. And as an applicant, you may think, why am I going to spend my time? Because most of us now use a standard application process. I know TPE and going through that process is definitely different and streamlined, but sometimes when you're a final candidate, you have to go back in and then reapply at the institution. And if you've never done it before, the professional position applications are quite long, and you have to put a lot of information in. And some folks question, why do I even do this if I know or I feel as though I'm not going to get the salary that either I require to live or I think that I'm worth. So it's important that you always have to apply. You could always throw your hat in, but I think that would be a viable conversation that you have with somebody. Let's say if you were going to take time off to go to a campus interview, or there may be some kind of investment that you may have to make in order to do that campus interview. And before you make that investment, either with your time or money, I think that would be a legitimate conversation to have with the folks that you're applying with to see what the salary was, and hopefully they can give you a ballpark figure at that time. I see, and I spoke about how to find an institution that works for me and my needs, as opposed to just having any job that offers a position. Yes, so true. The community on campus and the campus culture is so important when you're applying for a job. And I was always told it's a lot easier to find a job when you're working, right? So you're not just taking a job because you need a job. When you have a job and you're not being asked to leave, or you haven't been told to leave, then just to go through the application process, you have full control over that. And if you take the first offer that gets laid out on the table for you, yes, it's great. It's a new offer. It's a new job. But you have to start digging down, especially the longer that you're in the field, and the longer the length of time that you anticipate staying at an institution. You want to find out that you're going to be comfortable there. Again, exciting. Getting a new job, moving up in the field is definitely a great opportunity. But if you find out that the campus culture is not what you're expecting or not what you're looking for, it makes it quite difficult to transition and navigate into that position. Again, not every yes is something that you have to take. You don't have to take it if the job is offered to you. I was always told when you go for a campus interview, it's an opportunity for you to interview the campus, to walk around and get the feel for the campus, get the feel for those that will be supervising you, those that you might be supervising, the coworkers that you're with, and to get a really good vibe behind whether you would feel comfortable on campus, just as much as it is important that the campus culture interviews you to find out if you're the right fit for the job. So thank you all for sharing those pieces. I'm gonna try to stay on time because we run a timely agenda here. If there's anything else that anybody wants to add, by all means, jump in.